I'm Jill Schlesinger, CBS MoneyWatch. I'm here with Jack Otter. This week, the president reiterated that he wants the Bush tax cuts to expire for anyone who makes more than $200,000 as an individual or $250,000 as a family. Let's hear what the president has to say on this.
Many members of the other party believe that prosperity comes from the top down, so that if we spend trillions more on tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans, that will somehow unleash jobs and economic growth. I disagree. So the money we're spending on these tax cuts for the wealthy is a major driver of our deficit, a major contributor to our deficit, costing us $1 trillion over the next decade. By the way, these tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans are also the tax cuts that are least likely to promote growth.
So, Jack, is he on track here? Is this going to crush economic growth? Is it going to be good for economic growth? What's going to happen here?
Well, there are a couple different issues here. Starting with the economics of it, I think he's on the right track. It boils down to what's going to stimulate the economy the most. And the lower you are on the income ladder, the more likely you are to immediately spend any money that comes in. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you can't even afford your expenses. Sure, you get a little extra money, you're going to pump it right back into the economy. Moving up the economic ladder, you might spend it, you might invest it productively, or you might just throw it in a savings account yielding nothing. So I see his point that as a stimulus matter, yeah, getting it to the lowest income people is the best way to go. There's another issue, though, that's a little more complicated, and that's what creates jobs. Somebody making $30,000 a year isn't creating a whole lot of jobs. Higher up they might be. Let's hear the Republican side.
At the very time the American people are seeing fewer jobs created than we need, the president announces he's going to make it harder for jobs to be created.
How does it make sense for anybody to call for taxing small business owners when we're looking to create jobs?
How raising taxes on small businessmen and women will help our economy, I can't quite figure out. And frankly, I don't think the president can either.
So the Republicans are arguing that those people over the 250 mark are actually the job creators. Do you agree?
Well, only 3% of small businesses are really going to be affected by this. But here's the thing. That 3% accounts for half of all small business income, at least last year. So there is an argument that, you know what, this could affect some job creation down the line. But bigger picture, look, I was a small business owner. I gave advice to small business owners. What small business owners respond to in terms of creating jobs is a robust economy, lots of demand. I think that's the bigger issue. I will say there is some uncertainty built in right now. I think people are a little bit worried about, like, well, what's going to happen? And what about this fiscal cliff? And what will this all be looking like 6-12 months from now? That can lend to a little inaction, both on the jobs front and new spending by businesses.
And I'm going to go even bigger picture on you. So everything we're talking about, everything these guys are fighting over, is going to amount to about $850 billion over the next 10 years of either tax revenue or not. But we've got a much bigger problem, a $4 trillion problem over the next 10 years that we'd like to cut back. And here's the thing. We've got right now about 15% of the gross domestic product in revenue. That is so low, it hasn't been at that level since the late 40s. My father was rushing fraternities back when we had this little tax revenue coming in.
So really, tax rates are really low effectively.
Absolutely. On the other side, we're spending more than we have since World War II. So less income than in a long time, more spending. Both of those have to change. Somebody doesn't want to hear that side. It's either lower taxes or increased spending. Nobody wants to cut spending and raise taxes, but that is the only solution. And we can only hope that at some point after the election, they'll come to their senses and actually attack both those problems.
Well, until that time, stay with CBS News because we'll be following the debt, the deficit, the election, and the economy. Thanks for watching.